back in the day, I went to work, like first job out of college type thing. It was kind of one of those like corporate gigs where it's like I'm waking up early, I'm in the cubicle, I'm hating my life. And, I thought to myself like, okay, and I want to do anything to get out of this corporate gig. I asked myself, I was like, I wonder if I can, build one and list it on Acquire and sell it. And so basically built a business to 100K in annual recurring revenue and, quickly sold it and then continued to repeat that process over and over, and just really love, the early stage SaaS. I consider myself an early stage SaaS expert. Over the next handful of years, me and a small team just bootstrapped the business and went and signed up a couple of thousand local businesses to help them with their reviews. And then, from there, around 2018, had an exit. I sort of see myself as like an early stage SaaS mentor, someone that's kind of, been in the trenches, been there and done that. It's like, hey, here's this, perfectly created, SaaS in a box. And I'll even be here, if you need me for the next 6 to 12 months to kind of hold your hand and help you through this process.
Welcome to Lords of Lending. I'm Brian Congelier. As usual, I've got Shane Pearson and Stephanie Dunn with me, and today we are joined by Stuart Faught. Stuart is a good friend of mine and Shane, and he is actually a extremely successful business owner and SaaS or software as a service business founder. So Stuart, to give a little bit of background on him, he started one of the first online reputation SaaS companies that there were at the time, and has since had multiple exits. He sold about 11 profitable SaaS businesses. And we're going to be discussing today a little bit more about his businesses, his path, and a little bit about reputation management and the importance of how that plays into the journey of a small business owner. So, in the past, Stuart, welcome, of course.
Thank you.
Good to have you
Happy to
on
be
today.
here,
Thanks for joining
guys.
us.
Happy to be here. Yep.
Enthralling. This is a very exciting moment to sit down with the mighty Stuart Faught and just watch his gorgeousness flow through the screen. It's gonna be
Right.
wonderful.
Likewise.
That's a
Likewise.
great name.
Likewise.
So I'll
Fought lots of
I'll get
battles.
us kicked off. I'll get us kicked off here, Stuart, with
Okay.
a quick question. So in the past, talk me through some of your background, how you got started. I think was it Sweet 300 that kind of got started and then turned into Praise and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I'll give you my quick background. So back in the day, I went to work, like first job out of college type thing, went to work at a company called Dentrix, which is like the market leader in dental software. And it was kind of one of those like corporate gigs where it's like I'm waking up early, I'm in the cubicle, I'm hating my life. And I was there for a couple years. I knew I wasn't going to last long. I was sort of intrigued by the niche of dentistry, but I knew I wanted to do something on my own. Was always entrepreneurial, and so was kind of looking around for something to do on my own, and started hearing about SEO, search engine optimization, back when that was kind of a newer thing, like around 2009 era. And I thought to myself like, okay, and I want to do anything to get out of this corporate gig. And so basically on the side, um, during lunchtime, I would just run out to different dental offices and try to sign them up for, some sort of web marketing service. And, did that business and was able to, quit my corporate gig. And I thought, wow, this is great. Before long, I had a couple hundred, clients, paying me each month to help them with their web marketing. I thought this is great. But from that experience, really, I learned that what they really needed was just a simple way to capture a review from their patients. And so this was before any other, kind of bigger reputation company was out there. And so I thought, that was kind of my light bulb moment. I thought like, well, I'm going to pivot at this point and, stop the SEO guy thing. And I'm going to go all in on this reputation thing. And, created one of the first reputation SaaS companies. And basically over the next handful of years, me and a small team just bootstrapped the business and went and signed up like a couple of thousand local businesses to help them with their reviews. And then,
Nice.
from there, had a around 2018, had an exit. Candidly, I was pretty burnt out at the time, and so sold the business. Took a little time off, and then fast forward to COVID period. Um, I started following this guy. His name's Andrew Gazdecki. Really great entrepreneur that I like to follow, and he was starting at the time a company called Acquire.com, and started following kind of his journey on LinkedIn, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. Like, I didn't realize that these small profitable SaaS businesses were a thing. I didn't know there was buyers looking for that type of small product.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, that's kind of what I know how to do. That's all I know how to do is build a bootstrap software company. And so I asked myself, I was like, I wonder if I can, build one and list it on Acquire and sell it. And so basically did, within got when built a business to 100K in annual recurring revenue, and quickly sold it, and then continued to repeat that process over and over, and just really love, the early stage, you know, um SaaS kind of. That's I consider myself an early stage SaaS expert, and that's been kind of my gig the last several years, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I love how you completely bootstrap that the entire time.
Yeah, I
And for
did.
those of you
I
who aren't familiar with bootstrapping, bootstrapping just means you basically self-finance your venture using your own savings or just, getting clients and using the income you get from them to kind of finance your path forward.
Yeah, I think when I started, like I was saying, I was so, so desperate to get out of my, corporate 9 to 5 that I was really not enjoying. And so I was so naive to the world of, raising capital and all that type of stuff. And I really was just looking for an opportunity to get out of that job. Which, yeah, led me to bootstrapping the business, and then eventually becoming, pretty good at bootstrapping a SaaS company. So I think that, yeah, certainly if you can bootstrap, at least in the early stages, while you're figuring everything out, kind of finding that product market fit, it's always the best way to play it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I wanted to get into today a little bit about the review biz, because what we do, we come across a lot of businesses who, quite frankly, do not take advantage of reviews probably in the way that they should. So, before we kind of jump back into what you're currently doing right now and how that's going and kind of dig into there, we wanted to talk a little bit more about reviews and kind of extract some info from you on like what we can do, what business owners can do with those reviews, how to get them, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think most business owners are honestly just, super busy doing what they do, building their widget and selling it. And the reputation review side of things, often gets forgot about, or, maybe, you know, um, business owner will get excited, short term, and start to ask their customers, hey, can you leave me a review? And, of course, the response is always, yeah, Steph, totally happy to leave you a review. But, you know, they walk out the door if it's a local business, or, if it's over the phone, like, yeah, I'll do it later. And so my message to business owners is just get some sort of a system. Doesn't have to be super flashy, just a simple way to, automatically, or at least someone on your team, to always reach out to every customer after they've had an experience with your business, and just make
Yeah.
it really easy for them to either leave a positive review, um, or give you private critical feedback. So for all my different reputation, SaaS businesses that I've built and sold, it's like I always, create a text message and an email that goes out to every customer. And then there's always an option if that customer had a bad experience. We don't want to facilitate a bad review, but rather want to capture a negative, feedback privately. And so, however you can do that, or the business owners out there listening can do that, that's awesome. And just set it up long term. And then one thing that's always worked well is task someone on your team to be in charge of reviews. Because what I've seen in other businesses is that everyone gets pumped up on reviews, and everyone thinks
Mhm.
everyone else is kind of doing it. it doesn't get done. And so, yeah, create a system, task someone on your team with actually, following up and doing the reach out work if you don't have automated system. And then the other thing that comes to mind is like, where are we focusing on? You know, the example I always give businesses is, I can get Shane like 1,000, positive reviews on stewreview.com, right? Or some obscure review site. But if it's not going to where Shane's audience and Shane's customers are hanging out and consuming that review content, then it's not going to do Shane's business any good. And so for me, a lot of my customers, they're local businesses, and so I would say currently Google is dominating the local review space, and so that's where we drive all of our customers to leave reviews. We focus on Google. But then there's certain niche industries that, have secondary and, maybe a third reputation site where it makes sense to focus on well. And and yeah, that's always my advice to business owners. Just focus on a spot and just kill it in that spot. And then once you've dominated your top area, then move on to those second and third and fourth different reputation sites.
You know what I think is interesting? Okay, so I read this book a while ago, and Stuart, you might know. It's called Why She Buys. And
Never
this
heard it.
woman, yeah, you need to read it. It's fantastic. And
Yeah,
this
I'll check
woman
it out.
talked about how women, so me being, you're the resident expert on this call. However, I am the female expert. And so women,
Totally.
85% of female purchases are influenced by reviews. And so the interesting thing is, and I've actually put this into my own research. So when I online shop, the immediate first thing I do is I don't look at the features and benefits of the product. I look at the reviews.
Totally. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
that review to me influences if I'm going to buy this or not. And so what that has led to for me anyways as a female entrepreneur and as a banker, it's very intimidating. So and it's scary because it's asking the world, do I look fat in my jeans? All right. Women say they want to ask that question. But they really don't want to hear the truth. Right. So as a business owner, I'm intimidated by reviews because it's asking the whole world, do you think I look fat in my jeans? Yes or no? I don't think men are as intimidated by reviews as women are because it's putting yourself in a very vulnerable position, right? So if I have 10 good reviews, that's all I want. I'm like, that's it, close it off, no more feedback. As opening it up to 1,000 reviews to me feels impossible to get 1,000 good reviews. Because in my mind, I think that, it's probably intimidating thinking people are going to be critical. And I've had
Yeah.
instances as a business owner where people are critical. And it's like, how do you control the feedback where it's actual and not a lot of people now try to use reviews to get, discounts or free stuff or so like you
Mm.
I love your point of where do you start? How do you go from 10 to 300? But but also, how do you make that productive and translate into more sales as a business owner?
Yeah. Yeah, couple of points. So yeah, I totally hear you. It is a little bit intimidating to put yourself out there and reach out to customers and ask for, a positive review or honest feedback in general. Cause yeah, you're afraid like, oh, what am I gonna hear? Maybe I'm gonna hear things I don't want to. But the benefit, greatly outweighs the little kind of awkward interaction. And I encourage business owners just to push through it. And again, make sure you do it with a system that, uh, isn't awkward. So the way that we do it is again, we send a text and an email to customers with a link to either leave a positive review or private negative feedback. And so I would just encourage, business owners to always have a feature where if it was, if things did go bad, for them to kind
Mm.
of opt out and then, leave the critical private feedback. But yeah, it can be a little awkward. And then the other point that, came to mind, Steph, is, I've had other businesses in the past where, I'll get a call, sign up a customer, they're doing really great with the software and, getting all kinds of results. And then you're right, they'll have 20, 30, 50, whatever the number is. They'll call and be like, hey, we're good, on reviews. And then I have to remind business owners like, hey, you know what? each review is dated. And so, no one wants to be the business that had great reviews up until 2015, and then all of a sudden, they fell off. And so I would encourage business owners to always, stay on top of it, seek those fresh, authentic reviews and just make it part of your long-term, strategy and have a system in place and stick with it.
I love it. And what would you say? All right, day one, what's a 30-day protocol? New business. Where do I start? What are the
Yeah,
steps?
yeah, good question. So, first thing is, hey, let's figure out where we want to be, and so let's assume it's Google. Then you want to go to Google and make sure you have a business listing. Make sure that your business is properly listed, your business listing is claimed. You'd be surprised at how many business owners don't jump through that hoop and makes a big difference in SEO and searches and all that good stuff. But yeah, make sure your business is looking good on Google. Make sure you've got really great photos and really great you know uh, good quality company logos and all that type of thing on your Google photos, and then start to reach out with like one thing that we do is we always tell businesses like, hey, do you have record of all of the customers that you had interaction with the last 90 days? And usually it's several hundred, customers or clients or patients. And then, hey,
Yeah.
please send us that information so that we can, individually reach out to those people for you. And usually that's a good way to kind of get that initial boost of reviews and then kind of go from there. That would be kind of step one.
Awesome. Makes
Nice.
sense. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Love it.
So my question for you, Stu, is just about, you sold yours in 2018, you said, right? That's when was
Yeah,
that
my first one.
praise.com? That was your first company, right? And
So that was actually that one was called Patient Snap actually.
Patient Snap. All right, got it. Praise is still your
Yep.
current business, correct?
So recently sold Praise.
Recently sold
Yeah,
Praise. All right, so that's one of the 11 or
recently
12
sold
or
Praise.
13.
Yep,
Congrats.
It's working
yep,
hard.
yep.
There we go.
Thanks.
We'll get there. You
Yep.
did, buddy. Good job. So out of all
Thanks, man.
out of all of these different companies, and I look at, and they've all been isolated around review elements, right? Like, has that been kind of the supporting pockets of SaaS business that you've built for people, or in different industries?
Yeah, yeah. So in the world of SaaS, there's what they call vertical SaaS.
Yep.
Basically, it's a software for a specific niche, and I'm a big fan of building vertical SaaS businesses, and so for me, I thought like, you know what, there's so many different verticals that different niches that need reputation, need help getting reviews. And so yeah, each business that I've built and sold is a little bit different niche, different brand, different industry. But yeah, it does include the reputation tool in it. And then the idea is for whoever ends up acquiring my business to be able to start with the reputation tool, kind of get their foot in the door with that certain vertical, and then kind of, you know, get to know that customer really well and figure out different tools and features to build on top of the reputation platform. And yeah, it's just a good way to give a new, business owner just a head start and kind of a foothold in a new niche.
What
Yeah.
reputation means today, because we have, in the next 3 years, every small business owner that's out there is gonna see a change in how customers find them. So AI has replacing the Google algorithm, but there's other elements that need to be built into the system, just like what happened on the internet, that I think will affect how businesses get found in the digital landscape. So, have you
For sure.
thought through yet on how, and I don't know if I'm taking this from someone else, Brian, but, like, if you even had this on there. Have you thought
Yep.
through how reputation will come into play in an effect where, let's say a woman is out searching and 85% of her is thinking, I'm gonna, or out of the 85% influence in her decisioning, I want my AI to go find me a product that everybody else likes. And how is the
Mhm.
AI gonna interpret the reviews and everything else? And how is that gonna impact how a small business can prepare themselves? Because they not be actually getting found by the actual user themselves, the individual searching, their customer. They're getting found
Mhm.
by the AI bot that's gonna be analyzing their data.
Yeah.
So I would think we
Mhm.
may not see that entirely now, but I know that that's where we're headed in the next 3 years. What is that How does that impact how a business can prepare their business to support that element? Have you thought through that yet?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question, and yeah, super interesting thought as far as like, hey, in 3 years, where are we going to be with AI and specifically with reputation?
Mhm.
Whether the way that I think about it is, there's always going to be, the need for businesses to build credibility and trust, and get authentic, real, positive, feedback. And so, I don't know if it's still going to be Google. I don't know if it's going to be, several years ago it was Yelp. Yelp has significantly cooled down with our customers. 5 years ago, everyone wanted reviews just on Yelp, and now it's not even a thing that comes up too often. Um, so, so yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know whether it's an AI bot reading reviews or a human. If I'm a business owner, I just want to focus on what I can control, which is let's just get real reviews from our real customers and make sure it's posted anywhere online that we can. So real people or AI bots can read them, and hopefully we'll get customers through the door through those efforts.
Yeah,
That's a
Great
great
point.
point.
response.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me think about how imperative it is for them to focus because I think the more data points that a small business has as far as nodes for connecting the reality that they're a product and then what they offer is good, that just
Mhm,
reinforces like solidifies the business's goodwill or digital, we'll call it digital real estate that they really
mhm,
get their foothold in on because that's really gonna be the only separating factor. I mean, we've already saw from COVID a big consolidation in the number of retail shoppers, and that's the online shopping has only continued to grow. So I feel like I know every time I go on Amazon or any site, I'm looking at 3 or 4 sources to validate that what I'm buying isn't a piece of garbage or the service that I'm paying for isn't terrible, and I've gotta corroborate that with multiple review sources. I mean, it's sad that I go through that narrative, but it's because I've gotten burned so many times by products that even look like they had good reviews but were actually terrible, that it's
Mm,
not worth putting my money out there to pay a business for something that doesn't quite fit. I mean, I and so which means leads me to the next question is about really the handling the dark side of reviews is when things go bad. The first thing I do when I go to buy a product is I actually go look for the bad reviews. I don't care who said it was good. I go see what the bad reviews
yeah,
are because I'm trying to think,
yeah.
is their problem the same as mine? And then how did that concern get resolved? So you see sometimes like the edited posts. I love the reviews that say
Mhm,
edited, and then they talk about how the
mhm,
the the business owner was able to reply and get my problem fixed and everything else. Like, oh, I got this product and it was terrible because XYZ, but then they replaced it and it was good. So talk me through the how a business what's the most effective way to for a business owner to actually handle that negative in like a formulaic way, handle that negative
mhm.
review that comes through.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, and just back to one thing that you said previously, digital, I think you said digital, billboard or something like that. I remember,
Digital real estate, yeah.
digital real estate. Yeah, I like that. Back in the day when reviews were kind of a newer thing, I remember kind of being blue in the face, trying to convince certain business owners, mainly the boomer business owners,
Yep.
that like, hey guys, like this is a big deal. This is like, having a digital billboard like for life. Um, you know, online. But it's like, how do we deal with the negative reviews? Well, if we have so many positive reviews, I almost tell business owners like it's almost a good thing because no one wants to be the business that has all positive reviews because it kind of looks unauthentic. It looks like it might
it's
be
fake.
fake, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
as long as you have a plethora of super good positive reviews, like you should welcome the occasional negative feedback. And then when it comes in, hopefully we capture it, right, through a system like a software, one of the systems that we have. Um, but if you don't, and heaven forbid, it pops up online, then have that person that is on your team that sort of, ahead over in charge of reviews, immediately reach
Mhm.
out to that person and just try to make it right. Just reach out, take the conversation offline, try to make it right. 99.9% of the time, if a business tries to make whatever happened, right, usually the reviewer is more than willing to adjust, like you're saying, edit that negative, review to and turning it into a positive situation. So just make sure you have tons and tons of positive reviews so it doesn't affect your star rating because like you were saying, you kind of skip the positive fluffy reviews and you go to the negative ones. I do too, but before I do that, I make sure that the star rating is awesome. So
Yeah.
I want to work
Yeah.
with businesses that have the best star rating, and then okay, I'll read a couple of good ones, and then yeah, I'll dive into, the negative ones and see how the business is responding. Are they responding? Are they reasonable? Is this person? That's the other thing too. If someone is genuinely looking for your product or service and they see negative reviews, it's pretty easy. People are smart. It's pretty easy for them to figure out, okay, this person leaving this bad review is a crazy person. I'm not going to factor in this review, so
Mhm.
so yeah, just stay on top of it, pay attention to it, and do what you can to make things right when inevitably stuff goes wrong. You can't make everyone happy.
Also, and I'll pull a little bit more there. The the responses that make my stomach turn are when the business owner looks pissed off when they reply back, like, almost like they're biting back. It's like
It's a
that
bad
manager in
look.
the restaurant, you know what I mean? That, like, he comes up to the table and
Yeah.
instead of just being like, "I'll do whatever to make you right. I will pay for your dinner." Like, things that will actually go farther for that relationship, regardless of the snobbery of the customer that's there and, like, the nose tilted that they are against your business, just the bend over backwards customer experience being destroyed by, someone who got emotionally traumatized as a manager or an owner that's gonna come back
Yeah,
with a fist swing to their review. So
totally.
how do
Yeah.
advice there. How do you stage yourself to not become incited? Like, what do you ever get into that with your customers, or have you?
Yeah. It hasn't really come up much, but just thinking about it right now, it's like if you're a super like emotional business owner that can't handle the feedback, um, just put someone else that's a little more easy easy to accept the feedback on your team, to handle that. And maybe it's not a good thing for you to do. Maybe it's not a good task for you to do. That would be my recommendation.
Got it. I'll take
Being
it.
Yeah.
self-aware enough
Take a
That's
to
breath
interesting.
is
know.
my thought, man. Just breathe, go grab a coffee before you
Yeah.
respond. It's funny how I don't take my
Yeah.
own advice on that one. Anybody that listens to this that I happen to
Yeah.
work with occasionally knows that I collateral damage the hell out of that
Yeah.
one. But
Well, wait,
Yeah.
what is it? Those who can't
Taking
do
a breather.
teach.
what'd you say, Steph?
Yep.
Those who can't do teach. Is that
There
one
it
of
is.
those?
Totally.
Teacher. I'm
Yeah.
taking on a teacher role here. Forget the
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah, I'll coach you through it, but it's a struggle. Yeah, exactly.
But, I do pay attention to what the owner's response is, and I wanna make sure it's not some automated response every time too. Like, I wanna be like,
Yeah,
while they're
Oh,
giving
yeah.
the PC automated response, what a cop out. Like, I wanna know there
totally.
was an actual, like, interest and exchange, but I also don't want
Yeah,
the
goes a long way.
response I also don't want the response to be overly generous. Like, "Okay, your stay's free. Oh, your stay's free too. Your stay's free too." It's like,
Mhm.
"No, no, no." Like, we also have to like, I respect business owners. I wanna see there's a healthy exchange where they try to make
Mhm.
the experience better, but
Yeah,
also don't acquiesce, you know? Like, I respect that too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Make it
exactly,
reasonable.
exactly. And for certain customers in the past, we've taken that off their plate as well. And I guess, to answer your question, Shane, like, what if you just can't handle that? You could always have, we could always take care of it for you, or another company. Other companies, I believe, offers that too. And yeah, just get it done. However you can get it done, just come up with a system, get those reviews. Be a real authentic person. It'll go a long way.
Yeah. You don't wanna be the viral butt of a meme that cycles the internet. Like, go control like, get in front of the
Be
narrative
the nightmare.
before it gets written for you.
That'd be the nightmare.
Yeah,
Yep.
no kidding. Well, and it's funny, I thought about one element of this that I don't know if most small business owners know, and in the world of lending, especially in the SBA world, it's a very gut decision environment. And the first thing that an underwriter will do is Google your name
Mhm.
and your business. Probably even
Yeah.
before they look at your financials. They'll immediately look at your
No.
name of your business, and they'll just dig into your website. They wanna know who they're dealing with, and this is the first picture that's out there that's readily available to them and free that they don't have to pay for to judge you, essentially,
Yeah.
to put themselves in a
Yeah.
judging market. If that first intake is garbage or doesn't collaborate with other documents you might have provided, you're gonna have a problem. So that online reputation of how
Yeah.
customers perceive you, how you're portraying yourself, and how that reputation rolls out to even when you're applying for a loan or something else, it is
That's
imperative
interesting.
that you've, like, been careful and taken the steps to make sure the right image is out there. So,
And
Yeah.
start
No, it's a great point.
and star rating too. I mean, look,
Oh,
I've done
absolutely.
and we've all done here a lot of hotel loans and restaurant loans. Tell you, like, we had some hard
Yeah.
rules where if it has less than a 3.5 star, it's a no-go. Like, don't and so
Interesting.
I know that's pretty strict, So
Yeah,
star
I hadn't
rating.
heard that. That's yeah. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, and to your point, Shane, it's like not only your reviews or stuff, your star rating, but also like how's your website looking? Like how's your social media? Like all those
Pictures.
simple things that are simple,
Yeah.
but you'd be surprised at how many local businesses and businesses like they just they don't put any effort into it. It's kind of like an afterthought, whereas it should be, kind of one of the first things that you knock out.
Yep. And pictures that customers post are more powerful than your own website photos because everyone knows, all right, the website photos
Yeah.
are like the staged
Yeah.
photos, right? I always
Mhm.
look at the customer
Mhm.
photos and the customer review videos, and
Yeah.
yeah, the room looks completely different when it's from a customer.
It does, for sure. Yeah.
Now, Brian,
Right on.
you roll us into the next section, which is something I know that you and Stuart have talked a lot about. That idea of kind of what he's taken this management role or this mastery role within reputation. I know we touched on a couple of those elements, but the SaaS side of it. Go ahead and
Yeah.
trigger that for us, Brian.
Yeah. Let's get into that a little bit. Stuart, I wanted to find out, you talked a little bit about your background. We're talking about the reputation business, but I wanted to dig in a little bit more. Like, obviously, you had a sale in 2018, but the reputation component has still been kind of a piece of the other SaaS businesses you've built. What kind of, I want to get into what made you pivot. Like, what was the reason behind kind of pivoting from, hey, I've got a SaaS product that I'm selling to local business owners, to now I've built a bunch of these. I'm going to pivot and now sell to other business owners and founders who want what I have built for their own business. So I wanted to dive into a little bit of that. Like, why did you make that decision, and what was maybe the reasoning behind that?
Yeah. Yeah, good question, man. I think that for me, after being in the reputation space for a long time, I was just kinda candidly, like, a little burnt out on just the grind of just acquiring customers and building that business. And, the building and selling model was kinda new and fun for me. And then also, like we talked about earlier, it's like I'm a bootstrap guy. I haven't raised $200 million from venture, like some of our bigger competitors have. And so, I always like to take whatever I'm doing and think like, who's going to value this thing the most, and how can I compete, whether I'm big or small. And so I kind of did that, personal analysis during the COVID period, and I thought like, this is an interesting angle. I can build and sell as many of these small, SaaS companies. Um, and that was kind of my way to compete. So instead of building one big one, build an army of small ones, basically.
Well, were you kind of always thinking that way, even when you were in the reputation business, actively selling to customers? Because it seems like a lot of business owners will just get so wrapped up in what they're doing, they don't really take a step back and do what you just talked about, which was you're kind of taking inventory and analyzing not only your business, but yourself personally and where you wanna be, what you wanna do. Were you
Yeah, yeah,
constantly doing that, or was that just, like, did you reach that point because of COVID and then other
hmm
factors?
yeah. I think the COVID thing was a big like moment to stop and reflect and kind of regroup and see if it made sense to pivot. For me, it did. Um, the other thing I was gonna mention is, I saw a trend of, all of these people in tech that were executives at these big tech companies. My typical buyer is, someone who's, really smart, went to all the Ivy League, interesting schools, got all the right jobs and did all the right things, and then they kind of are at a point in their career where it's like, shoot, I want to build something that I have equity in and that I can exit versus making wealth and creating wealth for, the people above me. So I sort of
Mm,
saw that trend. And the other trend I saw was, a lot of these first time founders, they really, they're great at what they did at their, previous companies, and they're really smart and very capable, but they just didn't have the practical, like, no, dude, literally, this is literally all you do. Here are the steps. And so I
mm,
sort of see myself as like an early stage SaaS mentor, someone that's kind of, been in the trenches, been there and done that, kind of learned by myself. Like one thing that I would do, differently if I were to do everything over is kind of day one, seek out those mentors to really help and guide me. And so I kind of seek to be that type of person and character for my buyers. And so it's like, hey, here's this, you know, perfectly created, SaaS in a box. And I'll even be here, if you need me for the next 6 to 12 months to kind of hold your hand and help you through this process of
yeah,
going from corporate executive to first time founder. And I love that part of what I'm doing.
that's awesome.
Interesting. That
That's
actually
awesome.
makes me ask
Yeah.
Yeah,
wanna ask you a question. So the protocol you talk about that you just brought up, is that something you could share with us even now? Like, thinking about when someone comes in, I don't know if this is the secret sauce, but let's be honest, even if people know the secret sauce, their ability to execute it is a completely different thing, right? So the validity
exactly.
behind
Yeah.
your storyline on what you share and what you preach is like, here's the value add. Here's what you need to do. But most people just won't do it. They can't get out of their own way and helping them do that. So for those, you took the reputation model and have been able to replicate that within different verticals, it sounds like. And now you know the mechanism that goes into building a SaaS successfully. So what does that look like over a 12-month period of time? If you were to go sit down with a guy, how does he go from 1 to 100 customers, monthly recurring revenue
On the
paying customers in that SaaS
Yeah.
system?
Yeah. 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 So, when you're launching a new SaaS, the biggest hurdle is honestly it's the tech piece. I would say the tech piece as a non-technical guy, right? And so you really have to have someone good in your corner that can actually deliver code, a platform that is actually, good enough to sell. And that is, it sounds easy with all these different, people out there, dev shops and all those guys, but it's very common. If you talk to, SaaS entrepreneurs, oh yeah, I got burnt here with this dev shop. I got burnt here with that dev shop because it's so difficult to find a tech partner that will deliver a platform, right? And so that's the first piece that I'm able to deliver. So it's like, hey, here's a working SaaS that is actually solid. But then the next thing is selling. So part of the biggest piece of what I, teach my first time founder buyers is, hey, here's a system on how you can sell. There's different marketing channels. There's ads, there's content, there's, partnerships, there's cold outreach, there's, this, that, the other. There's all kinds of ways to acquire customers, and everyone's a little bit different. For me, and one of the things I like to pass along to my buyers is, hey, the best way I've learned how to grow is through partnerships. If you get yourself a handful of really great partners, and I know you guys have done a lot of great, things with partners, as well, but it's crazy how much it unlocks. But it's like, what's the actual process of like, okay, who are the partners? How do I connect with them? How do I nurture that relationship? How do I extract customers, from them? And so I have a system I created on a step-by-step way to, hey, here's how you reach out. Here's the actual script, what you say. Here's the messaging, what you do. And then, once you kind of cultivate that relationship, then I recommend selling your software or your product with a webinar. And so I like to have a pre-recorded webinar and then give partners the option to do a live webinar. Some partners they like to do live webinars, and great. Some people, if we can just get them to send out a text um, to their clients with a pre-recorded training, it goes a long way. And one
mm,
thing, little tidbit that I found always works well for me is I say, okay, new partner, like, how many clients do you work with? Basically clients that, I'm trying to gain access to. And usually the answer is, the type of partners I go after is, oh, anywhere between, 20, 30, 40, clients. Awesome. How many completely just love you, trust you, they'll do kind of what you recommend? And the answer is always much lower. It's usually somewhere around 5. I say, great. Would love to eventually earn the trust and work with all, 40 or 50 of your clients, but can we focus on the 5? Would you be willing to send this, 5-10 minute pre-recorded training to your top 5 customers and recommend scheduling a demo with me or someone from my team? And I figure, okay, if I want 500 customers, I need, 100 partners. And if I can unlock 5 customers per partner, there's this huge network and opportunity to acquire a lot of customers in a very,
Like,
you know, very non-awkward, comfortable way.
I love it. And what's your
Yeah.
question? Is there like a trigger point where you say, all right, this business now is ready to sell. I'm ready to sell this one. Is there like a IRR or some type of revenue target where you say, as soon as I get to, like you said earlier, 100,000 was like the initial goal, right? As soon as I get to 100,000 revenue, is there a target now where you say, all right, this SaaS is ready to sell and I'm going to sell this now, focus on the next?
Yeah, I found that a lot of my buyers that I like to work with and have had success with, they're looking for something where it's like, okay, it's maybe not like a full replacement of my income, but it provides a little bit of income to cover business expenses, kind of take the edge off, monthly. And so I like to get my businesses to about 50K in annual recurring revenue. So just
Okay.
a handful of customers, and then make sure those customers are really solid, kind of, locked into a nice annual agreement, and then essentially I'll put it in that box and then sell it from there.
That's nice. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where do people find your current SaaS projects right now, the ones that you are running? Or do you have any in the works, or are you just sitting in the mentor seat?
Yeah, I've got a couple right now that I have listed. There's different marketplaces, and it seems like the trend is there's more and more marketplaces where people are buying and selling these online. Two of my favorites are Flippa, and then I would say, there's the main one is acquire.com. And just from a seller's perspective, that one has been, by far the best as far as, quality of buyers and all that good stuff. But so yeah, I'll always have several, projects listed on Acquire and Flippa, and always chatting with buyers, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Acquire.com, is that Alex Formosa?
I
You're
I
what
believe
he's
his is
acquisition.com.
acquisition.com.
Yeah,
Acquisition.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, so pretty close, but yeah, acquire.com. Yeah.
Okay.
it's more
Interesting. I
smaller
love it.
SaaS-based businesses that are mostly listed there, right? Like that's that.
Yeah, I just love how
Yeah.
entrepreneurial we're becoming now, like as a nation. And it's just inspiring. And I think
Yeah, it's
you're right.
cool.
Since COVID, all of us since COVID, it's like the shift of the dream, when we were kids was to go work in an office downtown Chicago. And now that like sounds like a nightmare,
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
totally. Totally. Yeah, it's amazing with technology and what's going on, and just like all the resources we have. Yeah, it's so easy to create money online and do something on your own, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'll tell you this,
For
I'm
sure.
I'm at a point now where I don't know, maybe I say I'm kinda scared to death of what this world looks like for my kids in 3 years. Like, I'm in the midst of my oldest going to college in, let's say, 2026 to 2027 year, and deciding on majors and all this other stuff. I'm like, "Gosh dang, is it even relevant?" Like
No,
like, I don't
I
even
know.
know what the hell you're gonna do to actually fit the market, like, what the heck it's gonna be, so it's like, where you guide your child at this point. You can follow the Gary Vee strategy and give college the middle finger, or you can, like, send them somewhere and hope that they find a way and just stay locked in enough with them to guide them to what might fit. It's like, it's almost gonna be a world of AI driven for most people how to environments. Like I don't know. That's where my mind gets lost when thinking about even building a SaaS, because I know Brian and I and Steph, we're vibe coding all the time, right? We're using
Mhm.
lovable.dev to just sit there and rip out ideas left and right. And in this last week, I've had 4 that I've gone through concepts and migrated that concept into to try to modernize it just to fit what I think the world might be in 3 years. And so that
Yeah.
my question now is, can someone build a SaaS software using like a stable SaaS software using a vibe coded environment and have that propped up in, let's say, like, within a month or 2. Hell, even
Mhm.
faster, 2 to 3 weeks. Is there a viable SaaS
Yeah.
scalable product that someone couldn't replicate that you could actually build
Mhm.
value on?
I'm like the least technical dude in North America. And so, like, when it comes to these tech questions, honestly, I have no idea. I've heard that that yeah, you can create a platform totally with AI now, and I wouldn't doubt it. But what I do see with my buyers is the more technical buyers, the guys that are actual professional software engineers, they're still very much interested in acquiring something that's been properly built, like not by AI. Like, I don't know, 5 years, maybe this will be totally different. But from what I can tell is, the more legit technical people are like, it takes a lot more than just AI right now to build something of value, like something legit that'd be worth selling. But it's more like, instead of like, okay, we want to build this company, awesome. Instead of like projecting that we're going to need 30 dudes on our engineering team, really it's like we only need 5 now, but we
Yeah.
need, 3 really good ones and then 2 junior ones. So that's how everyone around me kind of explains the current landscape. Back to your college thing, I think that college should, like, I think people that are seeking like the 6% or whatever the percentage of actual professional degrees that require, a college degree, yeah, go to college, pursue that specific career. But all the other ones, go to college for social and connections. I
Yeah.
think there's still a ton of value in that, but I mean, dude, we gotta do something different. This is crazy. Like, I remember my college, like, I didn't learn much, but I made a lot of connections and we had a lot of good times.
So
So,
many good times.
Well, and it's
yeah.
it is it's back to I tell my kids now, it used to be, all right, let's go to college for something you can graduate with a piece of paper and get a job. But you're right. Now
Right.
it's like there's no direct correlation between that anymore. Now it's, you know what?
Yeah.
Study something you're interested in. Do it. It's like go and spend time studying something you love. And then we'll
Totally.
figure out
Totally.
when money will come. We'll figure out how to make money with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And get good at selling. Like, learn how to sell stuff. Learn how to sell stuff, online. Like, that's really kind of, if my kids were of college age, it's like that's what I would be, talking to them about. Like, learn how to sell, learn how to market, like understand all that type of thing, and just do businesses that you own and you have equity in, and you can
Yeah.
build an asset that you later can hopefully sell.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way to go, in my opinion.
Well, and that might be what stops SaaS systems is the discomfort that comes for people that don't know how to sell. They might be tech heavy in their knowledge and how to and the solve problem solving, but they are terrible at sales. And it is its art. That all 3 of us, all 4 of us are salespeople, I should say, right? Like we're all that's our background. That's what we've been doing for our whole freaking careers, regardless of what's happening on the back end. But that's what we know is the difference between somebody who is doing 100 million a year in SBA 7A production for us, or someone who's able to execute and sell their SaaS in a short period of time and build up a customer base that actually doesn't churn aggressively, right? Like you had a
Yeah.
product that you could sell and you went out and actually did it. So for the SaaS people that are listening on this and building it, Stuart just nailed it. You gotta figure out how to sell, and if you don't get somebody on your team, as he said, get somebody to resolve the bad reviews if you're emotional, and if you suck at selling, get someone on your team that can sell or partner with somebody that can sell.
Totally. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. 100%.
All right. So, Stuart, if you had to boil down all your experience into like one liner playbook, what would you tell yourself or whoever it is in one kind of succinct way
Thought.
what you've learned and what
Yeah.
you would do going forward?
Yeah, yeah, I think I would encourage people, if I can go back, I would encourage myself to just, take some time, like really dream up what it is that you want to do. Um, and do that thing that you're excited about and maybe you're a little bit scared to do, but just do it. And just know that everything's gonna be hard, everything's gonna take a lot of time, and then surround yourself with mentors, people that have already done it so that they can facilitate, that process. So, just whatever it is that you're super stoked and that you're dreaming about, like just start pursuing that from day one. you'd be surprised at, these younger guys that are just going out and doing it, and many times
Yeah.
it's just the best time and way to start is when you're young. But yeah, just, don't be afraid to follow your dreams. Surround yourself with mentors and, you know, um, yeah, that's what I would encourage people to do. And I think that at the end of the day, it just boils down to that. Just focus on whatever your long-term goal is and execute it and surround yourself with good mentors to help you along the way.
Here it
Awesome.
is.
Awesome.
Love
Well,
it.
thank you, Stuart.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for being on and checking us out. As usual, you can find us at lordsoflending.com. Stuart, you can be found at covington.ai, right?
Yep.
That's your latest
Covington.ai.
show.
Yep. Yep.
We'll leave that in the description box below, and that'll be it
Awesome.
for today.
Cool.
Thanks
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me, guys.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks.